President-elect, his pick to lead America's intel agencies, Tulsi Gabbard, still doesn't have a confirmation hearing date set. Gabbard's expected to face the biggest challenge to being confirmed, with several Republicans saying they are still unsure if she's the best choice to be the director of national intelligence. The concerns, of course, revolve around Gabbard's 2017 unauthorized trip to Syria, in which she met with then-dictator Bashar al-Assad, whom she has spoken positively about since that meeting. There's now new reporting, fascinating, important reporting surrounding that trip, and a possible connection to a missing American that 3 presidents have tried to bring home. In a piece titled Tulsi Gabbard, Sean Penn, and the Hunt for an American Hostage. Let's bring in right now the reporter behind the story, senior editor at The Economist, Steve Gall. Steve, always great to see you. This really is such an important story, fascinating story about not only Tulsi Gabbard and Sean Penn, but also Austin Tice. Tell us what you learned.
Well, thanks, Joe. I think the most important element is that while they were on this trip that you highlighted to Syria in 2017, a member of Representative Gabbard's traveling party was led by the Syrian regime to meet an American prisoner who that colleague of Ms. Gabbard later identified as Austin Tice, the missing American journalist who was abducted near Damascus in 2012. This report became a thread of intelligence that ultimately reached the Trump administration's lead hostage negotiator a couple of years later. It was explored. But it's just remarkable that Ms. Gabbard didn't know about it at the time. According to our reporting, she was told about it a couple of years later, but a spokeswoman for her denied that she'd received this information, that she'd received actionable intelligence, otherwise she would have acted on it. So it's sort of emblematic of the world of intelligence that she would have to sift through if she were confirmed to be the director of national intelligence.
Well, and what would be so surprising to many, shocking to so many, is the fact that that sighting and that intel from 2019 would be the last time that Americans, that we had any information, any intel that Austin Tice was in fact alive. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, with an identifiable witness, at least. And, you know, it's a sad and important story, this abduction. It's been front and center for a number of administrations. And in fairness, I think all of them have made an effort. We quote Deborah Tice, Austin's mother, as saying that she nonetheless worries that the government sat on leads across all administrations that they could have pursued. And now that the Assad regime is gone, the hostage negotiator lead in the Biden administration has been over there sifting through prisons, and still the mystery remains. I think one of the questions that gets raised in this reporting is, if the Syrians had him all this time, and if successive American administrations were interested in bargaining, really to be generous to Syria to try to get this American home, why did it not work? I think one of the things I came away with was that the Syrians under Assad considered that if they released Tice, they would lose more than they gained. They didn't trust the United States to deliver on promises, but more, they feared that if Austin Tice came home and told the truth about what he had endured in Syria, that the United States would turn hostile very quickly. So it's unfortunately, a recurring part of American foreign policy to a greater and greater degree. Donald Trump was very focused on freeing hostages during his first term. I'm sure he will be again, but the trade-offs and the complexity of dealing with these closed regimes when they take Americans is just mind-boggling.
So, Steve, let's talk about what comes next. Now that Assad is gone, the new regime coming in, you know the region well. You know, if they find Austin Tice, would they be willing to make a deal? You give us your sense on that, and also just the future of the nation writ large.
I think the new government would be very anxious to take credit for discovering and freeing Austin Tice. I mean, they've been trying to liberate prisons around the country. They don't control all of the territory of Syria. even as they've taken Damascus and major cities, at least as I understand it. So there may be facilities that are yet to be liberated. But I think this is a piece of unfinished business for the United States in Syria that it would be very much in the interest of the new government to clean up, no matter what the truth is. There's another element, which is that the Assad regime, like other dictatorships in the Middle East, kept meticulous records and recordings that have been scooped up by various intelligence agencies in the region. And at some point, sifting through those materials, more truth should emerge, both about Austin Tice's case, but also about interactions like the one that Ms. Gabbard had when she came to Syria in 2017.
Well, Steve, you also say there's another element of that trip that hasn't been reported in the American media, which you talk about here, and that is that actually when Tulsi Gabbard went to meet with Assad, your reporting suggests that she may have been a conduit to Donald Trump, talking about the possibility of communications, even Assad reportedly giving Gabbard his phone number for a call. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's a puzzling element of the story. Again, Ms. Gabbard denies that any such thing took place. She denied it in 2017, soon after she came back, when a Lebanese newspaper carried a pretty detailed account of this aspect of her mission, saying that she had been carrying what would be a fairly standard professional diplomatic message from then President-elect Trump, asking Assad if he would take a call, new administration coming in. There are complicated common interests like the fight against Islamic State, so such a call would have made sense. But she says that that's just simply untrue, that she didn't carry such a message. What we do know is that she did meet with Donald Trump in November of 2016 at Trump Tower when he was forming his new administration. And she said openly afterwards they talked extensively about Syria. So that's kind of one of the pieces of background about her trip. I still feel like there are a lot of questions there that we could dig into and try to answer better.
All right, Steve Coll, thank you so much. The new piece is available to read online now. Senior editor at The Economist. Steve Coll, thank you so much. Always great talking to you.
Great to see you, Joe. Thanks for having me.